Well, they say life's a beach. Not a beach, a beach. Here in Rhodes, 32 degrees, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Offspring of Aphrodite, goddess of love. The island of Rhodes was born from out of the mist of the deep waters to become the bride of the sun. Zeus loved the Rhodians so much that he sent golden rain to fall upon them. With these words, the ancient poet Pindar refers to the beautiful emerald green Isle of Rhodes, which the sun god Helios chose as a place for men to worship him, and for his union with the sea nymph Rhode, daughter of Aphrodite and Poseidon. For this reason he bestowed all his blessings upon it and gave it the most brilliant light in the whole of the Aegean. The Rhodians honoured him with the Colossus, that huge bronze giant, that whom legend is still rife on the island of Rhodes. Strange myths, primordial yet fascinating, are woven into the beginnings of the island. Adored by the gods, friends and foes alike, who desired to make it their own, it was created from the foam of the sea and endowed with infinite beauty, nestling where the Aegean Sea extends its eastern fingertips into the embrace of Asia Minor. Powerful, illustrious, undisputed mistress of the archipelago, a place since time immemorial for the passage of ideas from east to west and west to east. This southern gateway to the Aegean, with its brilliant achievements in the realms of art, culture and commerce, has both given and taken during the course of history. An island countenance has evolved which is one of breathtaking beauty and charm, leaving lasting memories in the minds of all those who visit Rhodes. Rhodes is situated in the southeastern corner of the Aegean Sea, 250 nautical miles from the port of Piraeus, a journey of around 13 hours by ship, and 11 nautical miles from the coast of Asia Minor. It is the largest island of the Dodecanese with an area of 1,400 square kilometers. It is 78 kilometers in length and 38 kilometers at its greatest width. It has a coastline measuring 220 kilometers in length, with large sandy bays, little gulfs and natural harbours. Rhodes has a mild Mediterranean climate with warm winters and cool summers. The surprising number of days of sunshine it enjoys, on average more than 300 per year, have caused it to be placed among the island's most favoured by tourists from the countries of Northern Europe. This sunshine, combined with the mild climate, has made the island an ideal place for the cultivation of vineyards which produce Rhodian wine, famed since antiquity. Today, Rhodes has a population of 90,000 and is the capital of the prefecture of the Decanese. Life goes on here as it has done for more than 3,500 eventful years, which have etched lasting, fascinating marks of past eras on the island countenance. Accordingly, the city of Rhodes itself has been declared a World Heritage Monument by UNESCO.
Well, we're here in the World Heritage Site on Rhodes Old Town. steeped in history, and we're here examining the Byzantine town walls. And when you walk through here, it's like immersing yourself into a distant past.
There is vigorous cultural activity there, especially in the summer months when concerts, displays of traditional dancing, etc. are organised. From April to October, in the exquisite gardens of the Palace of the Grand Master, there are evening sound and light performances, with commentaries in Greek, English, German, Swedish, Italian and French.
Well, I'm walking along here on the walls of the World Heritage Site, which is the Byzantine walls of the old Rhodes town. Full of history. You can see behind me there's a great big international cruise liner. So the ultra modern with the ancient past mingles, bringing 5,000 people per ship into this historic place.
Diodorus Siculus refers to the Telechines as the first inhabitants of the island of Rhodes. They came from Crete, the sons of Gaia and Pontus. They were strange beings, demigods, spirits of fire and metals, divinities of the mists and rains, wizards of renown. They were wonderful metal workers with characteristic names: gold, silver, bronze, and experienced craftsmen in the production of statues. However, as much as they were important and skilled as metal workers, they were also fearsome and destructive magicians. Of terrifying countenance, they used potions, sorcery, transformations, and their frightful gaze to provoke catastrophes and terrible spasms of nature. At length, the goddess Aphrodite cursed them for their impiety towards her, making them commit incest with their mother, and inundated the island with water. Thus, the Telesines left. However, they had a sister, Alia, with whom Poseidon fell in love. Their union produced 6 sons and 1 daughter, Rhode, who gave her name to the island. Rhode fell madly in love with the god Helios, who, as a sign of his affection for her, bathed the island with his rays of sunlight and gave it life once again. In spite of the certainty that Rhodes was inhabited in the Neolithic period, i.e. before 3000 BC, there are very few remains extant from the period, mainly stone artifacts and shells. There are, however, a large number of finds dating from the pre-Hellenic period. The most powerful peoples of the eastern Mediterranean, the Carians, the Lydians, and the Phoenicians, all left traces of their presence. The place names Chimeros, Lindos, Lalissos are pre-Hellenic in origin, and I'll take you there later on in the video. Around 1550 BC, Minoans from Crete established themselves on the island of Rhodes. Around 450 BC, Greek Aegeans arrived on Rhodes from Mycenae and developed an important culture there. They were mariners of note and developed trade connections with the shores of Asia Minor and Egypt, the latter attested by the find of 2 scarabs at Lalissos and Chimeros. In or around the 11th century BC, another Greek race, the warlike tribe of the Dorians, occupied Peloponnese and replaced the Achaeans. Using the Argolid as a base for their operations, they extended their influence to a number of Aegean islands. They completely conquered Rhodes and founded Lalias, Lindos and Chimeros, which developed into large cultural, commercial and administrative centres. Together with Kos and Knidos, they formed a kind of alliance, the Doric Hexapolis, with its centre at the sanctuary of Tribonian Apollo on the Cnidus Peninsula. The existence of a corresponding Ionic Hexapolis seems to suggest that these two Hellenic races did not enjoy particularly friendly relations. During the 8th and the 7th centuries BC, the three cities developed to such an extent that they sent out colonists not only along the shores of Asia Minor, but also to distant Spain and Africa. The importance of Lindos reached its zenith in the period of Cleobulus, one of the 7 sages of ancient Greece, who governed with wisdom and moderation for 40 years, 6 generations. In the 5th generation, the family of Eratides occupied a venerated position, and in its turn brought kudos to the city of its origin. The 3 cities on Rhodes continued to live peacefully alongside one another, and a decision was made to build a new city on the northeastern tip of the island. The new city, Rhodes, was built in 408 BC and fortified with a strong wall. It was filled with magnificent temples, public buildings, theatres, fountains and statues, and was so beautiful that Lucian called it the daughter of Helios, while the sophist Aelius Artistes declared it the most beautiful of Hellenic cities. It was administered by a federal government and minted its own coins, which bore the head of the god Helios. Rhodes developed commercial relations with the Ptolemies of Egypt, and this gave Antigonus, king of Syria and enemy of the Ptolemies, the excuse to send his son, Demetrius Peleocatus, to take the island. Demetrius arrived there in 305 BC with a massive force and his famous siege machines. 1 year later, and disappointed at his lack of success, he abandoned the ambitious siege and returned home. The Rhodians sold the siege machines and as he left them behind, and used the money for the creation of a new statue dedicated to Helios, the famous Colossus. After the siege, Rhodes achieved even greater prosperity and development, with almost all of the trade in the eastern Mediterranean passing through Rhodian hands. The famous maritime law was issued, which became the maritime legal regime for the whole of the Mediterranean, and is considered to be among the most important legal texts in existence. In 227 BC, a strong earthquake reduced the magnificent city of 300 statues to ruins and destroyed the Colossus. When the great power of Rome arrived on the historic stage, the island continued to dominate trade in the area through its strong navy. Rhodes was an ally of Rome until the time of the struggles with the Macedonians, when the island took a neutral stance. The Romans punished it for this, declaring the harbour of Delos a free port. For a city such as Rhodes, the greater part of whose income was derived from taxes on the various commodities which passed through it, this was a very serious blow and brought about the beginning of its decline. Even more serious, in 42 BC, Cassius attacked the city and razed it to the ground, transporting thousands of works of art away to Rome. Subsequently, the island became part of the Roman Empire and served as a place of exile for prominent Romans. However, The tradition of a strong cultural life was maintained there, and the number of schools of rhetoric and theatre flourished. Christianity spread rapidly over the island, and as early as the 1st century AD, Rhodes had its own bishopric. With the division of the Roman Empire, Rhodes was incorporated into the eastern part and became a Byzantine centre. In 515, it was hit by another strong earthquake, but with the help of the emperor Anastasius, the public buildings were rebuilt. In 620, the island was captured by the Persians, and in 653 by the Arabs, who sold the remains of the broken statue of the Colossus to Jewish merchants. Tradition relates that 900 camels were needed to transport them. After the 8th century, there began a period of peace under the protection of the Byzantines. From 1082 onwards, the Venetians established bases on Rhodes for their fleet. At the end of the 13th century, the island was virtually in the hands of the Genoese, whose fleet was anchored in the harbour there. The Genoese sold it to the Knights of the Order of St. John. Thus, in 1309, despite resistance from the inhabitants, Rhodes passed into the hands of the Knights. At the end of the 11th century, a charitable foundation was created in Jerusalem by merchants from Amalfi. Its purpose was to care for Christian pilgrims travelling to the holy places. At the beginning of the 12th century, Pierre Girard, a legendary and disputed figure, founded an order of knights centred on the Church of St. John in Jerusalem, whence it took its name from this nucleus. During the period of the Crusades, the order acquired great power through bequests of land and money from Europe, the purpose of which was to create a bastion against the spread of Islam. The first Grand Master, Raymond Dupuis, organized the order on a military basis. In 1206, they were expelled by the Mamelucas, and after spending some time on Cyprus, they bought Rhodes from the Genoese in 1306, establishing themselves there in 1309 in the face of opposition from the local inhabitants. The order consisted of members of 3 categories. The lowest in the hierarchy were the Hospitallers, who looked after the sick. Then there were the priests, and finally the highest stratum of all was that of the knights, the Cavalieri, who had to be of noble blood. According to their origins, they were divided into 7 groups, which were called tongues or languages. There were groups from France, England, Italy, Germany, Spain, Provence, and Auvers. Each of these groups had its own leader, and in particular its own quarters, where its members were housed. The main language used by the knights was French, and the greater number of its leaders were French. The spiritual head of the order was the Pope in Rome. The knights renovated, strengthened, and extended the Byzantine walls, and made Rhodes the capital of their ideomorphic but important state. Trading activities began again, and the island evolved into an important strategic and economic centre, as well as a commercial station between east and west. Great commercial and banking houses from Florence, Venice, and France opened up branches there. Hesitantly at first, but then with increasing enthusiasm, Greek townsfolk began to take their place in the new order of things. They occupied high social positions, enjoyed privileges, and embraced new ideas, while maintaining their religion, language, customs and traditions. This period of plenty was rudely interrupted in 1522, when after a 5-month siege, the island fell into the hands of the Turkish Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. While the knights were able to make honourable withdrawal from the island with all their accoutrements, the Greeks now entered a period of 390 years of suffering under the barbaric Turkish yoke. The proud owner of this magnificent yacht is the renowned Israeli businesswoman Shari Arison. She's an American Israeli entrepreneur, philanthropist and author, and owns the Arison Group, which has significant holdings in banking, real estate and infrastructure. The value of the Megan yacht is estimated around $20 million. The annual running costs add up to approximately $2 million. As with all luxury yachts, the price can vary significantly, influenced by a variety of factors, including size, age, the level of luxury, and the materials and technology used in its construction. This yacht behind me as I walk down and on my right is owned by Walmart heiress Nancy Walton Laurie, who is one of the richest women in the world, from her family's establishment of well-known retailer Walmart.
I'm here in the old Rhodes town, and I'm at the ancient Acropolis. Now it's quite windy, but it's exceptionally warm. I'm just having a look at this, but there's scaffold all over it. But it's one of the historical monuments of Rhodes. So here it is, the Acropolis. Once again, I'm walking in history. I sure am. It's awfully hot. It's very hot. And there is a forecast for a thunderstorm later on this evening. Now it's 4:45 in the afternoon. It's Sunday. And it's 34 degrees right now. So Kate and I have been out in the sun most of the day, though we spent X amount of hours at the pool, swimming and lounging about, a pastime that I don't embrace too often, but as I'm here in Rhodes, I suppose I better partake in all. On Tuesday morning, quite early before dawn, we're taking a boat across to Turkey. So we sail across the Aegean Sea to Marmaris, and we'll have a look around there at Turkey.
The Acropolis of Rhodes is the Acropolis or upper town of ancient Rhodes, dating from the 5th century BC and located 3 kilometers southwest from the center of the modern city. Situated on Monte Smith Hill overlooking the west coast of the island, the archaeological site includes some of the most important monuments in the ancient city, such as the Temple of Athena, Polias and Zeus. This small marble Odeon could hold approximately 800 spectators. Located on the southeast side of the hill is the 210-meter long stadium. North-south oriented stadium was initially restored by the Italians. It dates to the 3rd century BC. The starting apparatus used in the athletic events has also been preserved. Athletic events of the Helion Games honouring Helios were held here. The Acropolis site is situated on the highest part of the ancient city, sloping gently towards the east and bounded by cliffs to the west, upon which watchtowers forming the city's perimeter once stood. Mostly dating from the Hellenistic period, the monuments were built on stepped terraces with substantial retaining walls. Though moderate in scale, the buildings have a rhythm and symmetry, whose harmonious effects have been enhanced by a natural landscaping typically suited to a sacred space.
This is a big site. This is a huge site, a huge arena. As you can see, it's seating right around, circumnavigates the whole area. It is just massive. Walking in history. Well, I'm standing here between 3 swimming pools at the Olympic Palace Hotel, our home away from home, and there's the mother and father of an electrical storm right over the hotel. Surreal, science fiction looking. It's about 29 degrees and it's 8:45 at night. As you can see, it's putting on a magical show behind me there. And there's a disco here in front of me, as you can probably hear, in the open air tennis court. So it's all happening.